Well, good evening. Tonight we are on day 18 of Hope from the Stevens Home. If I haven't met you, I'm Carissa, and I am here with my daughter, and you are?
I'm Kaylin.
And we are so excited that you're here joining with us this evening. If you are here and if you want to go ahead and just say hello in the chat so that we know that you're here. Thank you, Josh, for getting on to watch us tonight. And we're just excited for you to join us this evening on another episode of Hope from the Stevens Home. So tonight, Kaylin, we're going to talk about hope.
Yes.
And the way we're going to do this evening is a little bit different. Our family participates in speech and debate, and Kaylin, you participate in a genre of speech that we're going to talk through a little bit tonight. So what is that genre?
One of my favorite genres of speech is called limited prep or limited preparation. And one of the categories within that genre, yeah, that's the word. One of the categories within that genre is called impromptu. And within impromptu, what you're given a quote, and you have 2 minutes to prepare an up to 5-minute speech based off of that quote. You're not allowed to hear anyone give a speech before you, and you're not allowed to tell anyone until the round is over. I personally love it. It is one of my favorite categories to ever do, and it's where I feel like I can show my true self. I like coming up with things on the spot, as I am doing right now.
Yes.
And so it's a lot of fun for me. For other people, it is a stretch, but it is an amazing way to learn the skills of public speaking. And I love seeing new people come across it and realize how much they like it or how much it has helped them. So it is one of my favorite categories.
All right, so tonight I'm going to give you a quote, and you're not necessarily going to give a impromptu speech about it, but we're going to talk about it, okay? Mm-hmm. And so the quote we're going to talk about tonight is from Theodore Roosevelt. And Theodore Roosevelt says, "When you're at the end of your rope, tie a knot and hold on." And so, Kaylin, when you hear this quote by Theodore Roosevelt, I'll read it one more time. When you're at the end of your rope, tie a knot and hold on. What is the first thing that you think of when you hear this quote by Theodore Roosevelt?
The first thing I immediately think of is actually Theodore Roosevelt himself. That's the first thing. So me personally, if I know who the author of the quote is, I like to think of them. So Theodore Roosevelt was one of the presidents of the United States. I know that he also served during the Spanish-American War, and that I remember that when I was probably about 8 years old, I watched a movie about him at my grandparents' house that was talking about the Battle of San Juan Hill. So
Oh, Julie, thank you for letting us know that you can't see us. So,
is that what you press? That is what you press. Oh,
thank you, Julie. Can you see us now? Or it should be changing soon, I think. Thank you for letting us know that you couldn't see us. We are
without our technical expertise.
Yes, we usually have help with our tech. So, can you see us now, Julie? Can you comment and let us know if you can see us? I think it finally caught up to where we are. So normally we have more technical people helping us with those things.
Yes.
And
tonight they decided that we were on our own.
So, well, we volunteered. So, have you been able to hear us, though? Just not see us. You saw just our words, I think. All right. Well, anyways, so Kaylin, let's go back to where we were. So we were talking about our quote. Okay, good. Thank you for letting us know that. And hello, by the way. I'm so glad that you're joining us again tonight, Julie. I always appreciate seeing you on here and joining us when you're able to. So we're talking about the quote by Theodore Roosevelt, "When you're at the end of your rope, tie a knot and hold on." And so you were talking about Theodore and telling us a little bit about him.
Yes. So Theodore Roosevelt was one of the presidents of the United States. He battled during the Battle of San Juan Hill during the Spanish-American War, and he had a group of men called the Rough Riders, and that is one thing that really stands out to me about him. And another thing is the night of the museum, where we have Theodore Roosevelt and we see him on his horse. And he was played by Robin Williams, correct?
I believe so.
Yes, and Robin Williams is one of my favorite actors. So, that's the first thing that comes to mind when I think of that quote is Theodore Roosevelt himself.
So do you think, you know a little bit about history?
Yes.
So looking at this quote, "When you're at the end of your rope, tie a knot and hold on." Do you think that maybe Teddy was going through something in his own life that would make him want to write a quote like this? And what do you think you could speculate that perhaps maybe was happening in history during this time?
I don't fully know if I could speculate what was going on. There's multiple scenarios where he could be writing this. I don't know the time when the exact date when he was writing this. So he could have been saying this quote while giving a speech as president, reminding the U.S. citizens during a hard time to just hang on and that everything's going to be all right in the end. We just have to hold out our hope. He could be reminding the Rough Riders that even though the battle may seem tough and hard and it may seem like they're coming to their wits' end and they're not going to come out on top, that they need to just hold on and have faith and strength. There could just be he could be saying this to his kids who are struggling with their schoolwork and with reading, and he's telling them to just hold on and hold it out because it's going to get better in the end. So there are multiple scenarios, but I think all those could apply to this quote.
Absolutely. I think definitely. I just want to shout out to my mom and dad. Thanks for joining us tonight. Thanks for checking in and letting us know that you are on watching as well. So Kaylin, when you think of this, and you've given us some examples of maybe of Theodore himself or Teddy, you've talked about maybe some possible circumstances that could have been surrounding the quote. What else do you think of when you hear the quote, "When you're at the end of your rope, tie a knot and hold on"? Do you think of any historical other references besides Teddy himself?
I think a great example of this that we can kind of see in history, but it's a little bit more recent, is a person who has meant a lot to me in the past. Her name was Eva Kor. She was a Holocaust survivor, and I think that this can apply to her story. In case you don't know, her and her sister were twins and were a part of a project where Dr. Mengele, one of the lead scientists at Auschwitz, was in charge of conducting tests to see how identical twins were, because it was his job to figure out how they could produce white skin, blonde hair, blue-eyed twins as best as possible. And what happened in her story is Eva was the fighter in her family. It was her and her sister left, and one of the tests that was gone through was she was injected with multiple strains of diseases, which we actually currently don't know exactly what she was injected with. And she became extremely sick, but she fought on for the hope that her and her sister could get out. And her sister was the only reason that was keeping her alive. She was at her wit's end. She was at the end of her rope. She didn't see like she could come out of this. She was sent to the hospital, and it was known if you were sent to the hospital, you didn't come back. And so she was at the end of her rope, but she tied a knot. She held on to the fact that she was going to get back to her sister. And because of that, she was able to survive the Holocaust. She was an amazing speaker about forgiveness, and she has inspired me as well as thousands of others. And you could actually visit the museum that she started in Terre Haute, Indiana, called Candles, which stands for Children of Auschwitz Nazi Deadly Lab Experiment Survivors. There we go.
There you go.
So that's what Candles stands for. And it's an amazing museum where you can hear her story. Sadly, she passed away within the past year, but she is still an inspiration to me, and I think that her story is a great example of this quote that is in history, but also kind of in the present as well.
Absolutely. I agree, Kaylin, and you've had the opportunity to meet her a couple times before she passed away, and her story is phenomenal, and she definitely was an avid speaker about hope and the hope that she experienced while she was at Auschwitz in the death camp. But the hope she also shared was of forgiveness, and the hope that she found in forgiving the Nazis and the doctor, and her story is just absolutely incredible. And so I encourage you, if you're ever in the Terre Haute area, check out her museum that she started. There are other people at that museum that are still alive that are Holocaust survivors that share their stories there regularly. And so, Kaylin, do you feel like this quote applies to you? So again, the quote, "When you're at the end of your rope, tie a knot and hold on," by Theodore Roosevelt. Does this apply to you in any way?
Absolutely. Currently, with this quarantine, I mean, we're going on day 18 of our podcast, of our web blog, whatever you want to call this. But our family was in quarantine way before this.
Well, and the Indiana quarantine started before April 1st. I think it started March 23rd or 24th.
Yes.
I was looking back in my journal. It was in the 20-somethings.
And we started our own self-quarantine around the 12th, between the 12th and like the 14th.
I think it was about the 14th of March.
So I'm a people person, if you don't know that about me or haven't figured that out about me, and I love people. So currently within this quarantine time, I love my family. My family is amazing, but sometimes the energy given off of my family is not the energy that I feel like I need to survive. And so I feel like through this quarantine, I'm kind of holding on. I burned almost all my energy. I'm holding on. I'm trying as hard as I can. I keep thinking whenever Governor Holcomb says that we're going out of quarantine at this date, I keep tying the knot tighter, and just hoping for the end of this, just to see. I've been able to see faces, don't get me wrong, it's been amazing to be able to see people, but to be able to actually hug somebody, especially the family members that I have not been able to hug, such as my amazing grandparents who are watching, Grandma and Papa, or Linda and J6, additionally, my Granny and Poppy, Tom and Kay Stevens, just to be able to hug and touch people and go to church and see. I'm a preschool teacher. I feel at the end of my rope. I haven't seen the little preschool kids that I've been teaching for it's been longer than a month. It's been almost 2 months, and I haven't been able to see them. And I'm thinking by the time that this is back, most of them are actually going to be in kindergarten, and they won't be in my class anymore.
That could definitely be a possibility. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yes. So I feel like I'm at the end of my rope, but I am holding on to that knot that I've tied, and I know that we're all going to get through this, and that no matter how deep into it seems or how hopeless it may seem, we are going to be able to get out of this, and we do have a hope. We see the light at the end of the tunnel, and we have a hope that this is going to be over soon, hopefully.
Yes, definitely. I think we're all, yesterday when we heard here in Indiana that our quarantine stay-at-home order was extended until May 1st, I know for myself there was an amount of sadness and kind of, yes, sadness for sure, but just remembering and realizing, we've come this far and we will continue to make it through this, because our hope is not found here. Our hope is found from the Lord, and He gives us the strength that we need to face each day. And so I just want to encourage you, if you're listening tonight and you feel like you're at the end of your rope, and there's been times that Kaylin and I have felt like we've been at the end of our rope while we've been home at quarantine, the best thing to do is to tie a knot in that rope and hang on. And that's also a great time when you find yourself at the end of your rope, to reach out to a friend and just to make a phone call. If you have the ability to keep social distancing and stay in your car and drop by someone's house and they keep their social distance, if that's something that you are comfortable with. I know that we've done that a couple times with Josh and I's parents, just to make sure that they're okay. And it also helps us to feel okay too. And so, call a friend, reach out. All of us feel like we're at the end of our rope at different times. And that's when we need community, and that's when we need each other. And so, do you have anything else to say about that, Kaylin?
One thing I wanted to say is one of my favorite movie quotes, which is actually probably not one that you think I really like. In the movie Sing, the koala, I don't remember the koala's name, but one iconic thing that he says is, when you've hit rock bottom, there's only one way left to go, and that's up. And I think when you've hit the end of your rope, there's only one way left to go. You can climb back up that rope and back to the beginning. So never lose hope, and never forget that God can help give you more rope.
Yes.
And He can tie more on to that knot and to the end, and He can help provide more for you. And He is always the pinnacle of our hope, and where we strive to go forwards. And He might end up being the actual light at the end of the tunnel. It might not actually be the May 1st deadline. It might be our experiences with God.
Yes, I think that's great. I think there's definitely some truth and great insight in that. So tonight, as we wrap up, we just want to remind you of this quote by Theodore Roosevelt. So Kaylin, why don't you say it this time?
All right. Theodore Roosevelt once said, "When you're at the end of your rope, tie a knot and hold on." Thank you for watching us. I hope you like and subscribe, and watch tomorrow, as this is a daily podcast or video thing. I don't know what we're calling this.
Yes.
But come back for more Hope with the Stevens Home.
Thank you.